Hello and welcome back to the live broadcast of JBN. I'm now at Ranwadi High School. I'm just going to show you a little bit of the damage that was caused by tropical cyclone Harold. And yeah, and I'm privileged to meet my friend here, Andrew. And I'll give him the time now just to, introduce himself and continue with the story. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, thank you. Yes, my name's Andrew. I've been teaching here at Ranwadi on and off for several years now. Originally came on a gap year nearly 20 years ago, but liked the place so much I kept coming back. It's a nice place, Ranwadi. It's a nice school. It was revamped by AusAid in the mid 2000s, and at least at that time it was one of the best rural secondary schools in Vanuatu. The damage, however, is quite possibly the worst disaster that's hit Ranwadi in its 100-year history. The former principal who grew up locally says he's never seen anything like this in his lifetime. There was an earthquake in 1999 that damaged some stuff, but nothing like this. And at Ranwadi we're lucky compared with some locations. Here we have some classrooms still standing, some houses still standing, not like at Melsisi where it looks like they bombed the place. Here at Ranwadi it seems to have been, and actually in villages too, it seems to have been that newer buildings did a lot better than older buildings in the cyclone. It's like coronavirus, I guess. It destroys the old folks, but leaves the young folks relatively untouched. The newer buildings that were built by AusAid were mostly okay, but some of the older ones suffered badly. Same with the staff houses. I'm lucky. I'm in one of the newer staff houses. It's not the best of houses in some ways, but it's solidly built, and it's in a little hollow at the bottom of the hill, so it survived well in the cyclone. We sat quite comfortably during the cyclone. I have a little boy, and he sat eating baked beans and watching cartoon clips on our phones, and generally oblivious to the world while the strongest winds ever recorded on Pentecost Island came overhead. When the winds died down, his mother went outside and said, I think this is worse than Cyclone Pam. I was in Vila after Cyclone Pam. I said, really? Cyclone Pam, it ripped the leaves from the branches. Did it rip the leaves from the branches here? She said, the branches are gone. And what branches? And I went outside and shone a torch around. It was still pitch black, but she was right. Where there had been trees, there were just broken stumps. There's this one banyan tree, the base of it was still standing, like, in Hiroshima, after the atomic bomb fell, there was this one building where the girders were still standing while everything else around it was destroyed, and the banyan tree outside our house looked like that. It was dark, we couldn't see around, but when I woke up the next morning and went outside, it was like stepping into some sort of weird dream, where everything was different, the light was different, and you could see things that you couldn't see before. Before, you looked out of the windows of our house and it was just a wall of trees. Now you look out and you can see the whole valley. You can see cliffs where you never knew there were cliffs. You can see little cascade of water. You can see the road all the way along to the point. We can now sit on our veranda with binoculars watching exactly who's coming by. Before we couldn't do that. They can all see us, of course. When I come back from the kava bar in the evenings, I look up and I think the villagers up the mountain are definitely watching this. It was just bizarre. I've never seen anything like it. The way the landscape had just been devastated. I mean, here it's 3 or 4 weeks since the cyclone. The trees are starting to grow back a little bit. Things are turning green again. But after the cyclone, it was just brown. It was like some sort of bizarre winter in the tropics. It was
did anyone get injured during the cyclone?
At the school, no, we were very lucky. I mean, there are so many stories of people, cowering in buildings as their buildings were being ripped apart around them, and holding their children as the rain and wind lashed them, or running for their lives as their house fell apart. But amazingly, hardly anyone was seriously hurt. There was a fatal injury at Melsisi, I believe. But here at Ranwadi, we were very lucky in that respect.
What about water and food?
Sorry?
What about water and food?
Water and food. I mean, the water stopped after the cyclone. In every village, the water was cut off for one reason or another. At Ranwadi, it took about a week for the water to come back on. In the meantime, we used the water that was in the rainwater tanks, and there's a stream down by the sports field that we used for washing and laundry. 3 or 4 days after the cyclone, the deputy principal sent some boys up to go and clear the water source, which is what you usually do when the water source gets blocked. They came back and said they couldn't even reach the water source. There was just trees everywhere. They went back up the next day with a bunch of men with chainsaws, I think, and they managed to get to it and clear it. Electricity came back on Friday. We have Friday last week. We have a generator that usually runs in the evenings, and that also tops up a solar power system for cloudy days when the solar panel alone won't run it. The small house containing the generator was sort of blown apart. It was the roof was torn off and the door was torn out, and where classrooms had been damaged, there were wires hanging everywhere. The electrics had been ripped out, so it needed the generator shed to be put back together before we could turn the power on, and it also needed the handyman to go around tying up the loose wires and making sure that no one was going to get electrocuted anywhere when the power came back on. But that was done. I mean, everyone here at Ranwadi has worked together really well after the cyclone. There's been no teaching. The students had already gone home before the cyclone because of the coronavirus scare. So the staff and also husbands and wives of the staff have been working every day, cleaning the place. You can see there's piled up firewood. The inside of the chapel, which was a mess of broken glass, has been washed and scrubbed. That was done by the mamas of the college, and some of the children too came out with their scrubs and brushes. Everybody helped out. Every day it's been work. The women piling up firewood and washing the classrooms, the men hammering roof metal back on or cutting things with chainsaws. And the college it's pretty clean now compared with how it was 3 weeks ago, but there's still some major damage that it's more than we're going to be able to fix without help.
How long do you think it's going to take the whole community to come back, life in the whole community to come back normal?
Good question. The college here at Ranwadi itself, I think we were relatively fortunate. If we can get help putting the roofs back on some buildings and making some moderate repairs, I think we should be able to get back up and running fairly quickly. We were lucky in that respect. And it would be good if we could get back up and running quickly so that we can provide not just education, but food and shelter to some of the kids who are now in their villages without good housing or good food. In terms of community life, I mean, that's harder. So many people have lost almost everything. They've lost their gardens that they used to pay school fees. They've lost their houses. And they're rebuilding. You can already see as you walk around, people are rebuilding stuff. Every day there's hammering and there's putting together of stuff. But getting back to where we were the day before Cyclone Harold, that would take maybe a generation. There's so much, there's no more thatch for rebuilding thatched houses. There's kava, which takes 5 years to regrow to export quality, and that's the main cash crop here. That's been devastated. And some people, they've kind of lost the will to build. My next door neighbour is from Central Pentecost, has just finished a big new house in his village, and after the cyclone he set off to check on it. He said to me, if that house has been destroyed that I've been working on for years, that's going to be the last house I built in my life. I'm going to go back to living in thatched huts from now on. And luckily Central Pentecost wasn't as badly hit as this area. His house was okay, but I think a lot of people feel like that. It's like after the earthquake in 1999, a lot of people who had built concrete houses, even if they had the money to rebuild with concrete, they said, I'm not going to bother rebuilding another house just so an earthquake can destroy it again. And they went back to living in thatched houses. I think it's a bit unfortunate, actually, that the earthquake discouraged everyone from living in concrete houses, but it's concrete houses that survive cyclones. I wonder if now we're going to get people maybe moving back to concrete houses, or maybe like after the earthquake, people are just going to give up and say, I'm going to live in a little tin hut for the time being. I'm not going to rebuild it. I'm not going to spend a lot of money and effort rebuilding a house just so another disaster can destroy it. I think psychologically, it's going to take a long time to recover from all this.
Thank you, Andrew, for your time with BJBN. I appreciate it so much. Do you have any last word to say to the viewers around the world that are watching you right now?
Just that everyone here has been hugely grateful for the support that we've received, and food, tarpaulins, everything that's come, and all the messages of goodwill, the prayers, the texts that have come in from around the world. But at the same time too, the real need is going to be long term. Once the aid agencies have wrapped up their projects, everyone's got a tarpaulin to shelter under, tick. Everyone's got food for the next few months until some vegetables regrow, tick. Even after then, there is going to be a need for longer term support, recovery, encouragement to get people back to where they were before this disaster hit.
Thank you, Andrew, for your time with BJBN. Until next time, may God bless you.
Thank you.